name is Christine B. I came into Royal, I actually had to think about it. I came into Royal in 2017. Not really by choice, yes and no. So when I came into Royal, my life was completely falling apart. I am an alcoholic, and I've been on the longest bender that I had ever been on. I ended up in the hospital for 10 days, like my organs and everything trying to shut down, and my family and my ex-husband was completely done with me. You know, like completely done. He was like, I don't care where you go, you just can't come here. So after I got out of the hospital, I kind of wandered walking around the streets a little bit. Like, I didn't know where to go, I didn't know what to do, and I have been like in and out of AA since I was like 20 years old. So I already had an idea. I knew like what to do. I knew that I was an alcoholic. I knew like that there was a different life possible out there, because I had had a year sober like 13 years ago. I think it has been now, maybe 14. So I knew that there was a different life out there, but I could no longer achieve that. You know, I had lost a daughter about 9 years ago, and I just started spiraling, and that's kind of like, and what led me here to Royal was just like, I'd hit that point, right, where I'd finally hit I've hit many bottoms, where I finally hit a bottom, and my marriage and my life had fallen apart. And after they let me out of the hospital, I kind of just, like I said, was wandering on the street a little bit, and my ex-husband took pity on me and picked me up and brought me home so I could shower, because I hadn't showered in weeks. And he's like, I don't care what you do, but you can't stay here. You need to go somewhere. And you know, you can go sleep on the bench, you can go sleep at the homeless shelter, you can go to treatment, like you can do whatever you want, you're just not staying here anymore. And I had had 3 kids by this point, you know, and at the time I was just like, why is he destroying our family, right? I didn't really realize that it was me. Like, if you had my life, if you had that loss of a child, you would understand. Well, he did have the loss of a child, right? But it was all about me. It didn't matter what I was doing that was hurting everybody else. And so I shower up and I'm calling. I'm like, okay, well, I haven't been to treatment before, so let's try that one. You know, I think that one might be a good idea. So I'm calling these places, and I call Royal, and they're like, oh, hey, Christine. And I'm like, have I called you guys before? So apparently, in one of my little blackouts or something, I had called Royal once before. They had already had me in the system. And I was like, well, that's cool. And so, like, I say, okay, do you have a bed? There's that. And I call him back and forth, tell me, like, okay, we have a bed by, like, 4 o'clock if you can get here. And I'm like, okay. And then they let me know, like, there's a certain amount that I had to pay at the time. This, like I said, this was 5 years ago, to get into Royal, and wasn't sure if I had the money to do so. So I started calling other treatment centers, this and that. And my ex-husband goes and checks the mail, and he comes in at me, and he, like, throws this piece of mail at me, and he's like, you know, if you're higher, you don't think you're higher, and he's yelling at me. He's like, if you don't think your higher power has your back, here you go. Here's a credit card for the exact amount you need to get into Royal. And I was astonished. I was blown away. And so, you know, I come in and I'm shaky and all these things. I come into Royal, and it was a trip. You know, I had spent one night in a different detox before coming to Royal, and it was not cool. It was unpleasant for me. And so I come in to Royal, and I was scared. You know, I was scared because I hadn't been separated from my my family like that before, because I hadn't done treatment before. And I got here and I went straight into residential instead of detox, because I had already detoxed in the hospital. And everybody was really kind, and they really, everybody was kind, and, Spencer was absolutely adamant that he was, that he was going to feed me, and I kept telling him, no, I'm not going to. Like, I want to be able to wear my clothes when I leave, because he's such a good cook, and I love to eat, so I had to really be careful about that. But other than that, like, it was just really informative. It pulled me away to let me think, but I was here edgy, and I was scared, because I'm like, I got to get back to my kids. I got to get back to my kids, because I'm a mom, right? And I felt like I couldn't abandon my kids, not realizing every time I drank, I was abandoning my kids. And so the counselors here, kind of got me to see it. And then at the time when I was here, it was called 9 week. It wasn't called 12 weeks. And my counselor at the time was like, okay, so I really feel like you should probably go to 9 week. And I'm like, no, that's not a thing. I gotta go home. I got crap to do. I'm a stay-at-home mom and all these things. And he straight up called my ex-husband on the phone, put him on speaker, said, we want to take her to 9 week. And he's like, take her. Like, she doesn't have anywhere to go. She's not coming here. And I was just so devastated, because I really realized that, like, my marriage was over. And I didn't know what to do, because I had been a stay-at-home mom and a stay-at-home wife for like 8 or so or more years. And if that wasn't really by choice, it was because I couldn't stay sober long enough to keep a job. I had been doing, I call it the recovery loop, for like 10 years. I'd get sober for like 3 months at a time, go out, get sober 3 months, go out, get sober 3 months, and I just did that over and over and over. And so I went to 9 week, and it was pretty awesome. So I made it a week. And I ended up like MIA-ing. I took off because I was like, I can't do this. I can't live on my own. I can't do it. Right. So I did end up relapsing like the first week in there, and I was out for like 8 days, I think, and I ended up in the hospital with a 0.46 blood level. Like it was done. Like, even the hospital was like, once you hit a certain level, we're just letting you go and do it. And I had burned all my bridges. I had nobody. And my ex was like, no longer taking my calls. He's like, I gave you the one chance you got to try to get your life together, right? And so I was like, man, and the hospital was like adamant, like, do you have anybody? Do you have anyone who is willing to come get you? And I remember thinking, I thought about Royal, and I was like, I said, there might be one place, maybe. I said, I just bailed from there, so I don't know if they'd be willing to come get me, but there's this treatment center. And so the hospital called Royal, and they sent 2 vans to make sure they got me. And the BHTs at the time were kind of like, I built a kind of a relationship with them, and they sent 2 vans to get me to make sure they got me, because I'm a runner, right? And that started my actual Royal path. Like, I came in, I was defeated, and I came back in, and this time I went start from finish. I did detox, I did residential, and it was hard, because when I came back, the counselors that were all previously a little bit more nurturing were a lot harder on me, but that's what I needed, because I don't learn unless it's hard, unless it's boom like that. And it was a struggle bus, and I wanted to bail so many times, and the BHTs, a couple of them in particular, one of them has passed away now, actually, that used to work here, kept me in detox. They sat like an hour and a half with me just talking to me. trying to keep me here. Because I just wanted to bail. I just wanted to run. I didn't know what to do. And when I got here and I started this process, like I said, I was a stay-at-home mom. You know, I'd been a stay-at-home mom and wife for a very, very long time. No credit to my name, nothing to my name. And I wanted, and you know, and my life was over as I knew it, and I just wanted, frankly, I just wanted to die. I just thought it would be easier because I've been trying to do this thing, this sobriety thing, for so long. I just knew it couldn't work. And so, you know, the guidance and this and that, but what I learned from Royal in that time, so I was in Royal, I think a total of 8 months. Like I said, I went from detox to residential to 9-week, and then eventually I moved into grad house for like 3 or 4 months. And when I was here, some things started happening. I ended up, the counselors that were helping me had made the recommendation that I should become a counselor. And I was like, you guys are high. That's not a thing. Like, I can't even control my own life. Like, how do you expect me to help others? Now I know, so I've been in AA for a long time, and that is a big part of my story. So I know I've sponsored women before. So I have that kind of a thing. I know how to work a woman through the steps and all these things. And they kept saying that, and I'm like, that's not like, stop, like, it's not happening. And that was a good thing, because I had, you know, prior to that and prior to losing my daughter, I was training to be a firefighter, and I blew out my knee because I was actually trying to do something with my life, I felt like, and I floundered after that. And then right after that, I lost my daughter, and so I didn't know what I was doing with my life. So I get into 9-week, and I'm like, okay, they want me to be a counselor. All right, let's see if I can do this one. And it was insane. Like, I enrolled in school, and I got in, and like, you have to have a job, and I got a full-time job for the first time in my entire life, and I kept it. And when I moved from residential to grad, I became a manager at that job. So, and I was enrolled in school in addiction studies to become a counselor. And I all of a sudden realized that I was a strong, independent woman that I had no idea that I was. That I could successfully live life and be successful at it. And that was a reality check. I grew so much in this place just for having the support and the accountability, and I consistently argued with the house manager. And you know, and the people around, and that's what happened to me here. I changed, I grew. And I'm trying to think of, like, just, I remember being in grad house and all the other girls were, you know, because I'm also a mom, right? And when I got back, I was like the oldest person in the house by like a minimum of 10 years. And so everybody called me Mama Christine because I knew how to cook. I'm a mom. I know how to take care of the house. I remember one of the poor girls, she's still my friend to this day. So that's another part of my story, is a lot of the people that I went here with, the women that I went here with are my friends to this day. We have dinner together. We have gone ziplining together. Like, we have lived life for the last 3 years together, and I met them all here. But I remember I was in the house, and one of the poor girls tried to make coffee without putting the filter in it, and it was just a mess. And so it's just like, it just was like, okay. So it's just kind of one of those things, like, Royal changed my life, and I think I feel like I got on a tangent, and I think that's because my heart, whenever I'm in this building, my heart's here. Like, I am part of Royal. I am part of what this is, and so where my life is now. My life is now is I am a substance use counselor. I went to school and I have my certification. I should say I am one in training, right? I still have to take the state test and this and that, but I work as a counselor now in a different treatment center. You know, and my kids, so I call my ex-husband, so when I entered Royal, I was still married. When I left, I was not. And I made it through that sober, you know. My ex-husband and me today have a wonderful friendship. You know, it was hard at first because he took my kids away because I couldn't take care of them, but I now have 50-50 custody with no restrictions. I can pick them up as many times as I want, as long as I want, when I want. And me and him text and joke around every day. We're better friends than we were married, because we were married, you know, together for almost 20 years. So, you know, we have a really good friendship today. And my kids are healthy and they're happy. And, you know, my older son is just super proud and watches mom try to help others, you know, try to give back what was given to me. And my friends, like I said, from Royal, we have family dinners almost every Sunday, and we've gone to Glacier Park. We have done so many things in this 3 years that I have been sober. My story, there was a couple hiccups after I left here, but what I learned here is what built that foundation for me to be able to finally be sober, actually sober. Not like play sober, but really sober. And I just, you know, I can't thank Royal enough, and it will always be in my heart, because I learned who I was here. I learned what I was capable here. And I learned that 3 things is what I learned about treatment. If you kind of are like, I shouldn't go, I shouldn't do this, I shouldn't do that, first off, stop saying should, because it doesn't matter what you should or shouldn't. But what I learned, the 3 things here was I wanted to do something. Once I was here again, I wanted to do something different, because I knew what I was doing was getting me the same results. So I had to be willing to do something different, and so I chose to come to treatment. 2, I ask you to please be willing to be uncomfortable. You will be uncomfortable. There is no way around it. But that uncomfortableness does go away. And that uncomfortableness is you trying to do something different with your life so you can have a happy and healthy life. And 3, be open-minded and willing. You know, have an open mind. What you put into treatment is what you're going to get out of it. If you come here and you are fighting and you are just going to fight it all the way, that's what you're going to get out of it. If you come here, you know, open-minded and going like, maybe I might learn something that can help me stay sober so I don't die, or so I can have my family, or so I can be the mom, or so I can be the friend, you know, or husband, or whatever, like, that's what you're going to get. But you know, one thing is, if you're open-minded here at Royal, they will be here and they will support you to the best of their ability. So